Hey, have you ever been in a spot where you clearly had the right to something, maybe the best seat or a real opportunity, but then you chose to give it up for someone else or maybe for a bigger reason? It feels kind of weird, right? Like, why would you do that? Sacrifice over, well, getting what's yours. Today, we're doing a deep dive into an ancient text that talks exactly about this. It's based on a really interesting talk about the Apostle Paul from 1 Corinthians 9, his radical approach to life. It gets you thinking about what living with real purpose means, especially when it costs you something.
Absolutely. And we're not just going to rehash the message. We want to pick up where it left off, really unpack the layers of what Paul was saying, and more importantly, what it might mean for you today. Like, how does this ancient wisdom actually give you practical steps, especially when you're figuring out your own choices, what matters to you, and maybe even what it means to, like, apprentice yourself to a certain way of living? It can feel pretty countercultural sometimes.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack that. The source talk started with Paul's background. You might think guys like Paul were always part of the inner circle right from the start. But Paul wasn't. He wasn't one of the original 12 apostles Jesus picked. His whole conversion story, that's like years later. You can read about it in Acts 9.
Pragmatic stuff.
Totally. And yet, he was super firm about being an apostle, even when people doubted him. The talk pointed out how he asks like 17 questions back to back in 1 Corinthians 9, basically saying, how can you question this? He really stood his ground.
And it wasn't just about the title apostle. He was also defending his rights, which were pretty significant back then. Paul had a right to be supported financially for his ministry work. That was normal. It wasn't just a Christian thing. Even pagan temple workers got support. He spells it out, Uses examples like soldiers, farmers, people get paid or get benefits for their work.
Yeah, that makes sense.
He even mentions that other apostles, like Peter, traveled with their wives, who were also followers, ministering alongside them. Oh, and the talk mentioned Jesus having brothers. Little details like that, they just add authenticity, makes the text feel real.
Okay, but here's where it gets really mind-bending for me. He has all these rights, legit claims, apostle, financial support, totally deserved, and then he just chooses not to use them. He says it twice. We did not use this right.
Wow. I mean, who does that? It goes against everything.
Exactly. And think about Corinth, where he's writing this letter. This source described it as like the original land of opportunity, super busy place, lots of trade.
Everyone trying to make it big.
Totally. Everyone had an angle, everyone had a hustle, as the talk put it. People were always looking out for number one. Paul knew this. He and Barnabas, they didn't want to seem like just another couple of guys building a following to live comfortably off of.
Okay, so it was strategic. Very strategic. They decided to put up with anything rather than hinder the gospel of Christ. And it wasn't easy. Remember 1 Corinthians 4. Paul talks about being hungry, thirsty, in rags, homeless, working hard with their own hands.
Yeah, wow. That's commitment.
It's radical authenticity, really.
That hits hard today, doesn't it? Especially maybe for younger people. We value authenticity so much, but online, everywhere, there's this pressure, the hustle, build your brand, monetize everything. How hard is it to resist that? To stand for something even if it means you don't get the clicks or the followers or the paycheck you think you deserve?
It's a huge challenge, and Paul's example really pushes back on that.
So how did he manage it, living authentically but still connecting with all sorts of different people?
Well, he was incredibly adaptable. The talk highlighted this idea of meeting people where they were. That famous line, I've become all things to all people, from 1 Corinthians 9.
Right. What does that actually mean, though? Does it mean compromising?
Not at all, according to the source. It's about humility and wisdom. He adjusted his approach, depending on who he was talking to. The talk mentioned 5 groups: Jews, Gentiles following Jewish law, other Gentiles, the weak, even slaves.
Wow, quite a range.
Yeah. He changed his style to make the core message relatable, no matter their background or status. He connected with them, didn't just talk at them.
Okay, so what's the takeaway for us? Meeting people where they are. In our world, which is so diverse, sometimes really divided, it's got to be more than just being nice, right? It sounds like it involves really listening first, learning.
Exactly. Genuinely caring. Earning the right to be heard, maybe. It takes humility. Stepping out of our own bubble.
So Paul wasn't just wandering around hoping for the best. He had a plan, a strategy.
Definitely. The source used these athletic comparisons, which, as you said, would have totally clicked in Corinth because of their big games, the Isthmus Games.
Yeah, second only to the Olympics, right?
Yeah, right. And the talk broke down Paul's strategy into 3 key things: discipline, direction, and decision. It's like his playbook for life and ministry.
Okay, break those down for us. Discipline first.
Okay, discipline. Paul talks about athletes training hard, being strict with themselves, right? For a prize that doesn't even last.
Like a wreath or something.
Exactly. But Paul says he's disciplined for an eternal crown, something way more valuable. And this is key. If you think about being an apprentice under Jesus, which the talk mentioned, it's not just about believing stuff. It's the discipline to know his way, practice his way, and show his way. It's active. It's doing.
Practice. That makes sense for apprenticeship. Okay, what about direction?
Direction. Paul says he doesn't run aimlessly. He runs with purpose. And the source suggested his direction, and maybe yours too, is always towards the darkness.
Towards the darkness, what does that mean? Sounds a bit intense.
Well, the idea presented was that the mission involves pushing back negativity, helping those caught up in harmful situations, moving towards the problems with light, not just staying safe where it's comfortable.
Okay, so not hiding away, but engaging with the tough stuff.
Right. Bringing hope, bringing that good news into dark places. This ties into that kingdom idea too, like being agents of God's intended harmony and restoration in the world, wherever we are, not just waiting for it, but actively participating and bringing it about.
Got it. Discipline, direction, and decision.
Decision. Paul compares himself to a boxer who doesn't just flail around but strikes with precision.
Ooh, okay.
So when you've earned the right to share something meaningful, when you've built that connection, don't hesitate. Make the decision. Speak clearly, plainly, humbly. No need for fancy words or pressure. Just be direct and authentic.
Man, that discipline, direction, decision framework, that feels really solid, especially when the world feels so messy and overwhelming, you know? It's easy to feel lost or like nothing you do matters. This gives you like concrete things to focus on, a way to move forward instead of just spinning your wheels.
And it all serves that good news Paul was so passionate about.
Right, maybe we should quickly recap what that good news actually is according to the source talk.
Good idea. It was summarized basically like this. God set up this state of universal harmony, a perfect design. But humans went against that design. And now we live with the consequences of that break.
Okay.
But God didn't just leave us drifting. He initiated a rescue plan through Jesus. Jesus' death dealt with the penalty for going against God, and his resurrection opened the way back to total restoration, the end goal. God and humanity back together in harmony, the way things are meant to be. That's the core of it.
Okay, that's powerful stuff. But knowing it isn't enough, right? We got to do something. So based on the talk, what are some actual practical things someone listening right now could like start doing?
Yeah, the source offered 4 really concrete actions. First, and this is called the foundational piece, the whole reason Paul lived sacrificially. Consider actually becoming a follower of Jesus.
Yeah. How does someone even start that?
The suggestion was super simple.
Yeah.
Just start talking to God, honestly. It could be like, hey, God, it's me. Been ignoring you, sorry. Or, God, I'm kind of stuck here, need help. Can we start over?
No fancy prayers needed.
Nope. Simple and sincere. That's the best way to begin that relationship.
Okay, number 1. What's 2?
Second, make sure your wallet is also a follower of Jesus. Basically, intentional generosity. Ministry, community work, all the stuff that helps people. It runs on generosity. Someone has to pay for it.
Right. Free to you means somebody else paid for it. I remember that line.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So find ways to give back, support the things you benefit from, even small ways. Generosity becomes a lifestyle. And as the speaker said, you've never met a grumpy, generous person. It really does change your perspective.
Probably true. Okay, third action.
Third, meet people where they are. Remember Paul's adaptability. Don't try to force people into your mold. Instead, invest in maybe just one other person. Really get to know them. Genuinely care. Listen more than you talk. Ask questions. Understand their world.
Not just to like fix them or convert them.
Right, just genuine care. And then maybe offer insights or truth they can digest, something that fits where they are. Bonus points if they're really different from you. That stretches you. Let the connection happen. Let God handle the rest.
Okay, that feels doable. Invest in one person. And the last one.
Finally, number 4. Practice discipline, direction, and decision. Put that playbook into action. For discipline, ask yourself, what's one area where I feel prompted to be more consistent? Where do I need to practice my values more intentionally?
Okay, self-reflection.
For direction, remember, it's towards the tough stuff, not away from it. How can you be an agent for good, for light, right where you are? Move towards need. And for decision, don't overthink sharing something meaningful when the moment feels right. Practice maybe summarizing the core of the gospel Or a key insight, just a few sentences. Be ready, be clear, be simple.
Wow. Okay. Discipline, direction, decision. Practice it. So, wrapping up this deep dive, Paul had rights, big ones, but he gave them up for others. He was driven by this intense discipline, a clear direction towards need, and decisive action when it mattered.
Hmm.
And we can actually apply that today by considering that foundational commitment, being intentionally generous, really connecting with people where they are.
And consciously using that discipline, direction, decision playbook in our own lives.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What if real freedom isn't just about grabbing all your rights? What if it's actually found in willingly letting some of them go for a purpose that's bigger than just you? What might Paul's example be calling you to maybe loosen your grip on for the sake of bringing some light into the world?
That's a heavy question to sit with. Definitely something to think about. Hey, if this conversation, this deep dive was helpful for you, please hit subscribe wherever you're listening and maybe share it with a friend you think might get something out of it too.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And just a reminder, if you need prayer for anything at all, you can go to our website, agapechurch.life. There's a place there to submit prayer requests, and our team will genuinely pray for you.
They really will.
Also, check out our YouTube channel. Search for Agape Community Church. It's still getting polished up, but there's more content and messages going up there.
Definitely worth a look.